Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Real View podcast. I'm your host, Allison Wiley. With me today, we have a very special guest, someone we're really excited to have on, Greg Hrabcak, who is past president of Ohio Realtors, a member of Ohio Realtors Forever, just involved on a ton of different levels. And we're going to dive into all of that here in just a minute. But before we get started, Greg, thank you for being here with us today.
I appreciate you having me. I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah, this is also a really special episode because this is our first in-person podcast that we've done since starting the Real View podcast back in December. So welcome to our studio here at Ohio Realtors. We are in person, and it's nice to be doing this in person and not over a computer.
I appreciate you having me. And like I said, I'm excited and it'll be great.
Yeah. We got tons to talk about. So before we get started, let's dive into our Real View question, which we ask all of the guests who join us on the podcast, which is, what is the best view that you have ever seen?
I've seen a lot of views, but my best view is my parents have, and we still have, a condo in Siesta Key, Sarasota, on the beach. And my favorite view is the sun setting on any given evening on that beach. It's beautiful.
So beautiful. Love that. I'll actually be in Siesta Key, Sarasota in October, going down there for a friend's bachelorette party. So never been to that part of Florida before, but I'm really excited.
You're going to love it.
To go. Yeah, I've just heard great things about that. So cool. Well, let's get started and dive into, who you are, your background in real estate. You've been practicing for 30-something odd years. Tell us a little bit about you and your story and how do you get started in real estate? I know your grandfather has had a big impact on your life as well, coming over from a different country and building a new life in the U.S. So tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Well, my grandfather arrived in the United States from Czechoslovakia in 1924. He had left his wife and his daughter there. He, along with his brother, looked for a better life in the United States, came to America, immigrated, went through Ellis Island and went to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and got in the steel industry. This happened in the mid-20s. The Depression hit. About 8 years later, he was able to get his wife and my Aunt Ann over. He had bought a home, and my father was born a year later and learned English, frankly, when he went to elementary school.
Wow.
So
that is a true story of an immigrant family. You are a descendant, of your grandfather from Czechoslovakia. What a cool story. I'm sure that, a lot of people can relate to that. And that still impacts kind of your business and the way you run things now, correct? Like you still kind of see your grandfather in some of the work that you do and the clients that you work with.
I deal with a lot of people. I practice 100% commercial real estate. And what I've seen over the past 37 years I've been doing this is that there are a lot of new Americans that have come into this country with that same dream, and they're looking for opportunities. They're opening businesses for themselves. They're purchasing real estate. They're trying to make a better life. So it's actually pretty exciting and something that I really enjoy doing.
And you probably think about that, when you go to work every day, that, you see your grandfather and some of the people that you work with, and you kind of see that similar story and probably is infused in what you do every day.
Life is about opportunities. Somebody gave my grandfather and my family an opportunity, and I'm more than happy to help educate and get people moving into real estate just the way that he was able to.
Yeah, and that's something I want to get into in a little bit is you're big on mentorship, and I know you've mentored tons of realtors throughout your career, but we can talk about that in a minute. But I want to hear more about you. How did you get started in real estate? What made you want to get involved in commercial real estate? I know kind of your father was a little bit encouraging of you to pursue this career as well. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in real estate.
When I was attending the Ohio State University in the early 80s, my dad was an executive with the Kroger company. And he came home one day and said, I am leaving Kroger's and I'm going to get into real estate. And our first thought was, or are you going to sell houses? And he said, no, I'm going to get involved in commercial real estate, and started doing real estate for Kroger, site work. As I was graduating from Ohio State, I was employed at Kroger's, had an opportunity to go into their management, and was talking with my dad and saw how happy he was, and he was doing well. And we talked, and he said, look, why don't you go ahead and give real estate a try? So I was 23 years old, and I went in with both feet and have been doing it ever since, and probably one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Yeah. Well, you can tell you're passionate about it, and it comes through as you talk and explain kind of the work that you do. So super cool. So tell us a little bit about your involvement beyond just being a broker and a realtor, because so much of what you do goes kind of above and beyond that. You've been involved in both of your local, state, and national organizations. Talk to us a little bit about your involvement. Share with us some of the things that you've done, how you've been involved, and what made you want to get involved.
I think early on, frankly, when I got into business and early on into it, we had a situation that involved the arbitration of a commission. I was probably 27 or 28. We had to go through the Columbus Board of Realtors at that time, and I went through an arbitration. It was a learning experience, and it immediately interested me in the association. And frankly, one of the first committees I got on was grievance. I then chaired professional standards, and it just grew from there. I think being around, professional people, they mentored me. They grabbed my hand. They said, Greg, you can do this too. And with some direction, got involved on the state, that transferred, or, the local, then to the state and the national level. And nothing's changed. Some of the greatest people around and the most knowledgeable are within our industry. They're a pleasure to be around. And I want to emulate those people. And I want to help other people see just how rewarding these associations can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are. And I know mentorship has kind of came up on other podcasts that we've done. And so this is a common theme that's been brought up, is the importance of mentorship. What do you think it means for yourself to be mentored? And you kind of talked about some of it, that encouragement and support, but you being a mentor as well. Talk a little bit about that and kind of, how you view the value and importance of that.
Well, I don't necessarily look at myself as a mentor, but I encourage people. It's all about lifting people up. And I tell them, you can too. I'm no different than anyone else. I go to work first thing in the morning. I'm involved in the sale and leasing of commercial real estate, but I also give back to the associations. And I've had a lot of people that have encouraged me. And Greg, you can do this next, do that. And I try to do the same thing. And I just hope that continues to get handed down.
Yeah.
So that's the goal in it.
Absolutely. And like you said, there's no one better to kind of, share those experiences and that wisdom with realtors other than the realtors that are in the profession every day. And it's just a matter of, being more connected and, spending time talking to each other. And I know that's one of the things you're very passionate about, is just sharing that knowledge and wealth with others throughout the industry.
I'll give you an example. When I leave here today, I'm going into my office. A residential agent that is thinking about getting in commercial real estate called me. They're coming in. I'll be more than happy to give them a half hour, 45 minutes of time just to discuss, hey, this is what it looks like. This is how I got started. And I think that's what you do. It's the
Absolutely.
golden rule.
It
know
is.
What I mean?
Yeah. And that's just what will make our industry better and stronger, is sharing that experience and wisdom, with others who are interested in it. So I think that's great. So you are getting ready to embark on a campaign for NAR Treasurer. Very exciting.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that decision. What made you want to pursue this? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm running for it because I believe that I'm the right person at the right time. I am a commercial broker that is involved in numbers and finance every day. I have served as treasurer, obviously, at my local level with Columbus. I did it with the Ohio Realtors, still on their finance committee. And I've got a lot of experience at the national level in that I have been on their finance committee for 8 years. I vice chaired it with the chair being the treasurer of NAR. The other committee is their Reserve Investment Advisory Board, and I vice chaired that as well. So I'm looking to bring that experience and knowledge in, and I'm excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, we're excited, and you have the full support of Ohio Realtors. We know that you would be a great asset for our members at that level. One of the things that was really cool was you had a huge involvement. You were a very influential person going through the 2007-2008 housing crisis. So tell us a little bit about what that was like, being in a position of leadership and power during that crisis, and kind of how you navigated the industry through a really, really challenging time.
Well, I can tell you that I navigated it with the help of very good people. So you're only as good as the people you're around. But beginning in 2007, I was president of Columbus Realtors. In 2008, we lost 30% of our membership. So with that and those dues dollars, the financial outlook changed pretty drastically. But because of working along with good people, good business decisions were made. We got through that year, and frankly, about a year later, started turning around, and things got better, and they have improved.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's really great experience and something you can absolutely take with you as we kind of emerge on the other side of another challenging and interesting time is coming out of the pandemic that we've been in for the past year and a half now. So how do you see yourself kind of bringing that similar experience along with you now that we're coming out of another interesting time for real estate?
Well, I think you need to adapt and move quickly. What we did on the national level is, like you and most people not being physically in offices, we went to Zoom meetings. So very quickly, you had to learn that technology and how to work through meetings that would have been held in person. Now, thankfully, things, knock on wood, seem to be getting better, and we'll be meeting in person. But it took some adapting. And again, when you get a group of people together that are determined, you can make things happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. This episode of The Real View is brought to you by the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. Ohio's network of community colleges provides accessible training that accommodates the busy lifestyles of aspiring real estate professionals at half the price of a traditional university. With convenient locations in every part of the state, as well as online options, Ohio's community colleges are your smart choice for pre-licensing education. For more details or to start the journey to a real estate career, visit the education page at ohiorealtors.org and then click on the pre-license course locations. So tell us a little bit about what you will do if so elected as treasurer of NAR in 2023 and 2024.
Well, you know, I'm going to bring the experience and the talent in finance that I have, and, you know, gone through good times, bad times. Say the nice thing going on right now, it's just like Ohio Realtors, Columbus, the National Association of Realtors, the membership's improved. So that enables us to do a lot of things. But I'm there to protect the members' money, make sure they get the most benefits that they can, and just make sure that we're fiscally sound and able to, you know, meet our strategies and our obligations.
Absolutely. And I think that comes along with this is like transparency and the importance of that. And I know that's something that you've, cared about, is you want the membership to know, what their dollars are going towards as much as possible.
I think that NAR does a great job of explaining exactly what the dues are used for and how they're broken down between advocacy, RPR, administrative, et cetera. Everybody that's in that finance room is a practicing realtor. So they have the same concerns that I do. We are all working to do what is in the best interest of our members, period, because we are members.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things, I know you've said before is really important to you, is that you are just like everyone else that's a part of it. NAR, that's a part of Ohio Realtors, that you are one of them and you understand those challenges and experiences and you're going through it right along everyone else. And that's something that kind of you feel strongly about, and that's another, aspect you're bringing to this campaign, is that you are like everyone else.
Well, I do the same thing they do every day. I just happen to be on some different committees or do some things volunteering on an association level. But I'm doing the same thing they're doing every day. I'm selling and I'm leasing and managing commercial real estate. So,
And I kind of am curious about how that's been like for you during the pandemic. How do you think that the industry has changed, maybe specifically commercially, but also residential as well? What are you kind of seeing coming out of this pandemic? How has it changed? And if you had to predict the future, what will that look like?
well, it's changed a lot, but it's like anything else. When things change, you need to adapt, and you have to step up. It was trying at first. Thank goodness in Ohio, we were an essential service, so realtors could continue to practice and do what they do. There were certain parts in commercial that did extremely well. Industrial, there was huge demand for warehouse space, distribution channels. Multifamily was a little bit different. Some people were not as fortunate, may have been laid off, were not able to work. At times, collecting rent could become a problem. There was an eviction moratorium. Office buildings, I own each of these things, by the way, with my family and manage them as well. In office buildings, people were not going into the office. Well, they're saying, look, we're not there. We want reduced rent. Some wanted out of their leases. So it was challenging. But I went in every single day. And I think if you have a positive attitude and you treat people the right way, good things happen. And we've worked our way through it. I know residential's, done extremely well. The biggest problem there being just a lack of inventory and product.
Yeah, and hopefully that's going to change, as we come out of this pandemic and more sellers are getting comfortable with selling their homes and listing. So hopefully we are coming out on the bright side of things. What is it that you love about real estate? If you had to sum it up, you've made your whole life and living 37 years in this industry. What do you love about it and what keeps you motivated?
The people. It's the relationships, it's people. I don't look at real estate as a job. I look at it as a lifestyle. And I'm excited every day when I get up. I had a couple meetings before this. I'm meeting you. I have a meeting afterward. And it's a nice environment. And it's something I'm comfortable in. So there's nothing better than helping people reach their goals.
Absolutely. And kind of giving that American dream, like relating back to your grandfather. You are able to help people start new lives and whatever that looks like for them. That's probably something that keeps you going every day too.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and I think that would, and it's not only commercial, the same thing for residential. When you're helping a family grow, add children, be in a new location, get in schools, become a part of a community, it's pretty special.
Yeah, it's a big part of their lives that you're helping them achieve. So very cool. So if you had to tell our listeners here, one word, one piece of advice, why should they, be rooting for you as NAR Treasurer, what would that be? What would you tell them?
Well, I would just be grateful for their support. I know most of the members, obviously, in Ohio, having gone through and been a past president of the Ohio Realtors. I care. This is what I do. I have a very good understanding. And I've worked with some of the best people. I've worked with the past 4 treasurers of NAR. So I certainly have the experience. I've been in that room when difficult decisions were made. Frankly, I'm guessing 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5, the last dues increase. Those are words realtors don't want to hear. But you had to get a group of people together in a room that had to modify the way things looked financially. Reserves were getting near their minimum balance. And although it was a difficult decision, a decision was made and we've benefited. And NAR as a whole financially is better off now than it's ever been.
Which is really exciting. And I think, you totally nailed it when you talked about, some of the past experiences you have and how you'll carry that over into the future. And we think you would be amazing. We're rooting for you here at Ohio Realtors. And I know you have tons of other support as well. And if anyone wants to learn more about you, how can they get a hold of you? Are you open to having conversations and kind of meeting, some individuals and spending some time with them? How can people learn more?
Well, there are 2 ways. My email address is Greg.Hrabcak, which is spelled Hrabcak RA, B as in boy, CAK at HER Realtors with an S.com. And frankly, they can call me on my cell. My number is 614-906-2227. Be glad to talk to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to Greg, talk to him. He's a great guy. I know we've just spent a little bit of time together, but I've enjoyed every time we spent together and getting to know you and hearing your story a little bit more. So definitely reach out to Greg, learn more. We are rooting for you for Treasurer. Our members and NAR in the industry would be lucky to have you. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. And this has been fun. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week. Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.
This has been a Humble Pod production. Stay humble.